Hi guys, I'm Janet and welcome to Homestead Where You Are. Today we're going to be canning chicken, and you will not believe how easy this is to do. So the other day I was at the grocery store and they had the boneless skinless chicken breasts on sale. I think we paid $2.19 a pound. Anyway, I had to work that day, so I did not have time to can it at that time, but I did cut it up into chunks, and I had put it in the freezer because, you know, chicken, you can't leave it out for very long, and I knew it would be several days before I could get to it. So I had put it in the freezer, and I took it out last night so that it would thaw, and today I'm going to can it. It's not a whole lot. I think I'll probably get, I think it's about 6 or 7 pounds, so I'll get 6 or 7 jars out of it, roughly. I'm doing pints, so it's roughly 1 pound per pint. Things that you will need today: you will need, of course, a pressure canner. Meat is always canned in a pressure canner. It's a low acid food, and it requires the longest processing time of anything, and you always do it in a pressure canner. You will need some vinegar for wiping off your rims. You will need a jar lifter. You will need your debubbler. And this is my little magnetic thing for pulling my lids out of the container because they will be hot. You will need a canning funnel. You will need your jars washed and ready to go, and I have mine in this pot simmering so that they will be hot. You will need your lids and rings. And today I'm going to be using my Tatler lids, and I do have mine sitting in hot water just to soften them up a bit, and I think that's it. So anyway, we're going to pull out a couple of jars. And I will be canning in pint-size wide mouth jars. And all you have to do is pack it down in there. And you can do the same exact process with bone-in chicken, whole chicken breast. You can do it any way you like. It's all the steps are exactly the same. Some people take like chicken legs and put them upright. You can get 3 or 4 or something in a jar. This is just the way I like to do it. Is the raw pack method. This is the raw pack method, so it's supposed to mean no liquid added. It will cook in its own juices, and it will be nice and juicy and tender. You want to leave about 1.25 inches or so for headspace. Alright, I'm going to wash my hands. Okay, now I'm going to add about 1/2 teaspoon of salt per jar. And this is not required. Has nothing to do with whether or not the meat will can safely. It's just a matter of preference. And as a matter of fact, most of the time I use a little bit of powdered chicken bouillon. But it is totally up to you. You can add any kind of dry seasonings you want to add at this point. But I like to do it this way, where it's, other than a little bit of salt, it's pretty plain so that I can do anything I want with it. Now I said in the beginning, raw pack method means no water required, no liquid. It's going to cook and sit at the top of the jar here. That will not be covered in liquid. And while it is still safe to use, it's not very pretty. So I'm going to put just a little bit of water in each one. Not very much. I would guess less than 1/4 of a cup. Now I'm going to use my debubbler. That water will sink down to the bottom. You're going to try and get as many of the air bubbles out of it as you can. Alright, now I'm going to take my vinegar and I'm going to dip it in my paper towel in it. And I'm going to wipe the rims, because if there was any fat or food particles that got caught on that rim when I was filling the jars, they may not seal properly. And let's face it, nobody wants to waste all this time to have this beautiful tasty chicken and then have your lids not seal and the food go bad. Alright, now, as I said earlier, I will be using my tattlers. So I have the lid and the little rubber ring, which just goes on the outside edge of the lid. And get it on there. There we go. And you just place it on your jar. Ring on. Now with these tattlers, these are the new ones. These are the ones they call the Easy Seal. So they work pretty much exactly like your traditional canning lids. The only difference is when you pull them out of the canner, you have to tighten down the ring until after they've completely cooled for that 18 to 24 hours. Overnight, basically, is what I do. I know the older tattlers were harder to get used to because they required you to, the tightening down had to be a certain way or it wouldn't work, and that's why I didn't buy any of these before of the tattlers, because I was too worried about how hard it would be to get a good seal, and I didn't want to waste my food. Then when they came out with these Easy Seal, bought some. Alright, now I have about 2 inches of water in my canner. Mine is an All-American. I'm going to put these in here. And of course I have the rack in the bottom. You never want your jars to be right on the bottom of your pot. have some space in the middle. And I'm going to go ahead and add this empty jar of water. Well, it's not empty, I guess. It's a jar of water. Just to fill in that space. Alright, I'm going to put my lid on. I said this was my All-American. I don't know why I said that. This is actually my Presto. Right, and I'm going to let this heat up until we see steam coming out of the vent. It's very important that you let it vent for about 10 minutes to get all of the air that's trapped inside there to come out of the vent to create the pressure that you need. And then after you put your weight on, you want to bring it to pressure slowly. If you go too fast and it goes way over pressure, then you got to turn it down, and it goes way under pressure and you got to turn it back up and all that fun stuff. And it can be very hard to do. If you bring it up slowly, it's a whole lot easier to fine-tune the spot where you need it to be to hold pressure. And now, luckily for me, I've used this so many times, I know where my sweet spot is, so I know exactly where to put the heat. But until you figure that out, you're going to want to make sure you do this my weight on now. Now for my elevation, I am supposed to can at about 10 pounds. The Presto does not come with a 10-pound weight. Mine came with a 15-pound weight, which is okay. You're better off if you process these at a higher pressure than if you definitely don't want to go under. But because I also have the gauge on here, I can keep an eye on where it's at. But anyway, just so you know, I have a 10-pound weight that goes on my All-American, but for some reason it doesn't seem to get a good seal on here. So anyway, it is what it is. I'm going to let this come up to 10 pounds and then I will start my timer. Okay, so my canner has come up to pressure now, and it's actually at almost 15 pounds, which that's because I have a 15-pound weight. I've set my timer for pints. It is 75 minutes, 1 hour and 15 minutes. If it's quarts, it is 90 minutes, an hour and a half. Since I have pints, it will be 75 minutes. So I will bring you back when the 75 minutes is up. Okay, so this has been processing now for 75 minutes, actually about 5 minutes over. Turn the burner off. And now I'm going to let this come down to 0 naturally, and it's very important that you do that. One of the big things that happens is siphoning in your jars if you try and bring it down slower. So don't touch this and try and get it to go down faster. Just let it come down naturally. It will take. Alright, so we let this process for 75 minutes. Then we turn the burner off. And we let the pressure go down to 0 naturally, all on its own. So now I'm going to pull the weight off of it. And there's no steam or sound coming out of it, so it's obviously at 0 pressure. So now I'm going to take the lid off. Now always open with the opening away from you, because that is very hot steam. Alright, there we go. Chicken. See how nice that looks? Alright, and now because Because I'm using my Tatler lids, I'm going to make sure that the rings are on tight now until they finish cooling. Alright, now we're going to let those sit overnight, and in the morning they will be ready to go into the pantry. It's that simple. Probably one of the easiest things that you can do is canning meat. And this is going to be very juicy, very flavorful. I mean, when I held it up close, you can see that the broth looks like chicken broth because it cooked in its own juices. And it will be very, very tender. So that's it, guys. Easy peasy canned chicken. If you guys like what you see and you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe, leave a comment below, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you'll be notified when I post future videos. And I thank you guys for hanging out with me. Hope I catch you on the next one.